What's up, world? You are welcome to Nest Telly. Welcome to Nest Telly. My name is Nest. Thank you so much for coming by. It's good to have you around. So, to celebrate the month of love, we are discussing the book, the Bridgerton series. It's a series of 9 books, and you are just joining in the conclusion. To find out more about every other book that I've talked about concerning this particular series, I'll put the link up here, okay? There's a playlist, go there, check it out, and you can see whether you should go on and read it or not. So this book is actually very nice. This one is called Bridgerton's Happily Ever After. Now, what Julia Quinn did was that after writing an epilogue to every book, she actually wrote what she called the second epilogue, which is like a further down or much later stories, questions that she felt needed to be answered, questions that she had heard her audience ask her, like, when she goes for book signings, people will ask her, oh, but what about this person? What happened to this person? I wish I could know what happened to this. And she decided to create a second epilogue in addition to the original epilogue. So for all the 8 books, she puts all their epilogues, all the children's stories, put them all together in Bridgerton's Happily Ever After. Some of them are kind of long, some are not as long. And then at the very end, she talks about Violet, my baby girl. Violet is Lady Bridgerton, and then Edward Bridgerton. Edward is the father, who we never actually get to meet throughout the series because he's already dead. So about how they met, how they got married. They were very young. Edward married at 19. Violet was 17. So they were that young when that happened. Then 20 years after, I think, 20 years after, Edward dies, and then the show starts because the firstborn, who is Anthony, is 18 when the father died. So that's pretty much it. It's really beautiful. This is a book you want to read if you are so in love with the couples, or you just love the story so much that you want to know more about them. This is what you want to do. We want to read this book. So if you want to read this book, The Duke and I, which is number 1, the story of Daphne and Simon, in the in the second epilogue, Daphne is 41 years and the Duke is 50. And they have children out in the town by now. They have, I think, 2 of their daughters are now out in the town, in the marriage mat, looking to get married and all that. So what that is like for them. Then in Anthony's story, is 15 years after they've gotten married, they are still getting ready to play this crazy game that has made them who they are. That is Anthony and Kate. If you read The Vikings Who Loves Me, you will know the game I'm talking about and what this is all about. So in book 3, which is Benedict's and Sophia's story. Sophia is, no, it's Sonia. I am so sorry. Okay, so Benedict and Sonia, this is actually my favorite book, so I don't understand. That being said, Benedict and Sonia, I've been married for a few years now, like 4 or 5 years down the line, and Sonia is trying to get her stepsister married. Her stepsister that actually helped her with her mom. Again, you might need to read An Offer for a Gentleman to understand this one, but honestly, this story is so heartwarming. Then the story of Penelope and Colin, which is Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. In this story, the second epilogue is actually not a father. It's just basically 2 weeks after they get married. This is Penelope going to talk to Eloise about being Mrs. Whistledown. So what that's like, how did Eloise perceive it? How did she feel that her best friend for 10 years had kept a secret that was very major like that from her? So yeah, so that was beautiful. Then the story of Francesca. Francesca's story is actually a very heartwarming one, sad and very, because one of the main reasons why she went on to remarry was because she wanted to have kids. But it's apparent in the second epilogue that years after being married, she now holds on to the idea of having just nephews and nieces over having children, because she just cannot have a child. And she was pregnant for John, her first husband, before he died, but a few months after the man had died, she lost the baby, and since then she's not been able to conceive. So it's hard dealing with that, but she has a beautiful, heartwarming conversation with Violet, my girl, and Violet's having a conversation with her kind of made her warmer and less intense about this particular thing. Then her wonderful husband, the Earl, is still crazy about her after all these years, and she's still crazy about the Earl. So they have that, but she clings on to having her family, her big, huge, humongous family. Then we have Gregory. right? After Francesca is Gregory, yes. No, let's do Hyacinth. Hyacinth comes before. So Hyacinth, I said, is like a detective kind of girl, right? She had gone on looking for this treasure, and she has 3 kids. She has 4 kids, sorry. She has 4 kids, and she's gone on looking for this treasure for about 40 years now, and she eventually finds it. Her eventually finding it is because her daughter Isabel is actually much wiser than than anybody might be willing to know. Isabel is, of course, I said that Hyacinth's husband is of Italian descent, so they have Italian blood in their house. The Baron now, that's Hyacinth's husband, has been able to move the family out of poverty or out of debt and mortgage by understanding investments well enough and knowing what to do and all that. But there's a piece of jewelry that had been hidden in their family home for years, and somehow Hyacinth had got away from it, and she had been looking for it, and eventually she finds it after 40 years. So yeah, so there's that. Then Gregory's story, I think, honestly, my heart was, it would make your heart feel very Lucy, you know, Gregory, I told you, is a big fan of love. So he had worked extra hard, done everything within his power to save this wonderful wife of his called Lucy. And about 15 years down their life, Lucy had 9 children. So Gregory has 9. Gregory is daddy. Daddy has 9 children, and she had just given birth to the last. She actually had 7 kids, so she thought they were going to have 8, but it turned out that they were twins. So she has twins. Hyacinth is by her side, and Gregory's on the other side, and they're talking, and suddenly Lucy starts to sleep. Like she just slips up and goes into this state of coma. And what we watch is basically Gregory dealing with his unconscious wife. What's this going to be like? He's wondering what's he going to do without her. How's he going to raise the kids without her? How's he going to do anything without her? So it's like, it's very hard. Your heart would do a lot of bounces and all that. And you know, now he has like 2 new babies, and there are kids everywhere. I mean, he doesn't know what to do. Thankfully, Julia Quinn doesn't write tragedies. So at the end of this second epilogue, Lucy actually opens her eyes and comes back to normal. It takes a while before she nurses back, but this is pretty much it. At this point, they know that then she's not gonna have any children again. So then the very last is the story of Violet and Edward. Now, at the very end, Violet is 75 years old. She's celebrating her 75th birthday with all her 8 children, her 33 grandchildren, and her 5 great-grandchildren. And she's sitting down in a patio in the big Bridgerton house outside, where the kids are kicking and doing the most, and she's just sitting down looking at them, feeling very content and very happy and just, you know, uniquely blessed. And Daphne, who actually has a beautiful relationship with her mom, walks up to her. At this point, Daphne is about 50 or so, and she comes to her and asks her mom if she's happy. And the mom says, what are you talking about? Of course I'm happy. And Daphne says that she's been married to the Duke now for about 30 years, give or take 30 years, and that she cannot imagine her life without Simon, that's her husband, with the children and all that, that she just doesn't know if she can do it, and that her mom has done it for almost 50 years now. That is she happy all by herself and all that. Then, you know, after making this long speech about the contentment that comes with the children and how full her life has been with everybody and all the activities and all that, she holds Daphne in the hand, looks her in the eye, and tells her that, see, you have to believe me, I have never been happier in my life. I am happy and I am so content. I'm thankful for my children and for my family. And then the curtain closes and the book ends. Honestly, at the end of, if you listen to the whole series, if you read the whole series or you can listen to it on audio. If you listen to the whole series or read the whole series and get to this point, you might feel a bit of melancholy in the end, because everybody is gone. Do you understand? So it's like, okay, can't we have a little more? Oh, I forgot Eloise's story. Eloise's story is actually very beautiful, because Eloise married a man who already had children. Do you understand? So Eloise's second episode, what was that called? I've forgotten. I'll get to it in a second. Eloise's story is actually told from the angle of one of those children. At this point, she's getting ready to get married, or she just got into the mat, so she's meeting a potential suitor, and she's having conversations with herself in her head, and she's talking about how she's just come to terms with the fact that her mom had killed herself, and what her new mom is like, that is Eloise, how much her coming into their life had changed a lot of things for her dad, her relationship with her dad, her brothers, and then her new siblings, what all of that is like. So it's just so beautiful. I'm telling you, it's just that, like, Eloise's story is becoming #1 rated. I don't know if I'll put it there yet, but it's becoming #1 rated. But honestly, Bridgerton Ever After could be a great insight into the whole books. I think it could be good to listen to that before, or read that before you read every other one. Then you can decide if you should go ahead or not, if you don't mind getting spoilers before you actually know the book. But honestly, this book is wonderful, and thank you so much for joining me on this crazy long 9-book journey. It's been amazing. I'm thankful that it's gone. I'm sad that I wish there was more, but I'm thankful that it's done. So please subscribe and join in. From the next book that we're going to talk about, we're doing a giveaway. I talked about it. I'm going to be giving out 5 items, so I'll put the playlist there. Questions about the Bridgerton series, things I talk about on the Bridgerton series, then you can answer and get an opportunity to win an item. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.